From John Pierre to James Cameron to Riley Scott and now to Fede Alvarez, it's not a secret that the Alien franchise is one of the greatest franchises to ever exist in any genre in cinema. This franchise is now 45 years old, and we have been getting movies for every decade since the 70s. So it's just admirable, and a few weeks ago I had the privilege to watch these movies back to back for the first time ever. I had only seen the first Alien and the Prometheus. Apart from that, I hadn't seen any movie before. So welcome back everyone to another video here on the channel Royal Horror. My name is Thiago and I'm so excited to be talking about aliens because today, for the last couple of days, it's all been about Alien, the franchise, thanks to the new release Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez. And in today's video, as you read about the title, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna be ranking this franchise. But what's different about this ranking is that this is not worst to best, because I don't know if this might sound unpopular, but in this franchise there is no a single bad film. So the last film on this ranking wouldn't be the worst. Like, all of these films are incredible. Like, all of these films are from 3.5 stars to 5 stars. So there is no 3 stars, 2.5 to 0. And only one of these films from this franchise I've ranked it 3.5. The rest of the movies are from 4 stars to 5 stars. So that just says a lot. Like, not every franchise manages to have all of the films being incredible, but the Alien franchise did that, at least for me. So this is gonna be a fun video, relaxing video to celebrate this franchise. So I'm not gonna be doing a huge deep dive about it. This is just my own opinions, how I feel about this film, especially as a first time viewer. And maybe in the future I will do a huge deep dive on the history behind these films, but that could be maybe for a next year video to celebrate like the 46th anniversary, I don't know. But for now, this is just gonna be fun, relaxing, just you and me. So grab a snack, grab a drink, sit back, relax, and let me know in the comment section below what is your ranking. So let's go to it. Now, without further ado, coming at number 7, and again, this is not a bad film. This could be maybe the least rewatchable, if you might say, and that will be Alien 3 from 1992, directed by David Fincher. Now, I know this film is like considered the worst film of all time in the whole franchise by many people out there, but personally, I don't consider this film a bad film, and the main reason why this film is going into the 7th place is mostly because of the CGI, because this is the film that uses, like, we'll say, the most CGI in the creatures out of all of the movies, which is surprising because this is early 90s. So you might think like the films from like the 2010s will be the ones with the most CGI, but no. Alien 3, like, that CGI looked really bad, like it was really atrocious. It really took me out of the film many times. Now, but I had a good time with this film. Like, I do think if you take the CGI out of it, I think the storyline is very unique, especially to close the main trilogy. It's very different to the first 2 Aliens films. I think Ripley, she is iconic in this film. I think the fact that she has to face different characters that she will never get along with, I think that was incredible. I also like that this film also feels more like a crime kind of film, because the characters that we're following, they're not the usual characters you will want to root for, because obviously they're criminals, or they've done horrible stuff in the past. So I think it was quite unique to be on a jail in space, because that's something you don't see that much. So I love that Ripley became this huge character, like the queen of the spaceship to the other guys. I also think that the color palette in this film was incredible, like the orange palette, and that's something that I admire from this franchise, that each film has like a distinctive color. I also liked that the kills, I think the kills were like unique, and also the chase scenes. I think the use of camera through the alien's perspective to chase all of these guys, that was really good. So that really caught my attention, and you can see David Fincher's vision in this film, again because this feels more like a crime. I guess my favorite aspect from Alien 3 is the social commentary, because this film is trying to explain how some bad people out there think that just because they became religious, they are forgiven, or like it looks like they haven't done anything. Or also this movie tries to comment on how some religious people out there, obviously I'm not saying everyone, but how some religious people out there think that they are better than everybody else just because they are religious or just because they believe in something. And that was huge, because obviously it's not a secret that if you believe in something, that doesn't make you a better person than someone that doesn't. It's the stuff that you do in life what makes you a good or a bad person, not if you're religious or not. And Aliens 3 was giving that message, so huge pros for that. Now, coming at number 6 will be one of the prequels, and that will be Alien Covenant, directed by the one and only Ridley Scott. Alien Covenant, all I have to say is that this film felt like a poetry, if that makes sense. Like this film, like it's 2 hours and it honestly felt like it was just 5 minutes. I absolutely loved the characters here. I loved the use of location. I think it was amazing how this film showed us more of the space that our characters are belonging. Like this is the only film in the whole franchise where we see the characters like having the suit, going into the space, like dealing with stuff outside of the spaceship, and that was very unique. I also loved the fact that this movie explains so well where the xenoforms come from, where these aliens, these creatures, where they come from, why are they like this. So that was really good. I also loved the main villain, which is not the creatures. Obviously they're villains too, but the robot in this film, like, that was incredible. Also the acting from everyone is amazing, and the characters are very likable. I loved how, like, the casting was amazing too, and I loved how some characters, because of the casting or whatever, you will have never expect them to die, but obviously they do. The use of location once the spaceship goes on the ground in this other planet, that was like beautiful, and the kills here, they're like pure horror slasher kills. So that was incredible. I guess the main reason why this film belongs to the place number 6 is because of being a prequel, and because there is other 5 films like after this movie, and it's very predictable. Like you see most of the stuff coming, like you see more or less how this film is gonna end. And also another negative stuff that I could say about this film is the use of CGI, because I think the creatures or like some of the kills and the blood, it looked very, very fake. And that's worrying because this movie came out in 2017 and the visuals from the first film are actually better than the visuals from this film. So that really took me out of it at certain points. Alright, so coming at number 5 we have, and this might be unpopular, but I absolutely love this film, and that will be Alien Resurrection. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was really worried before watching this film just because of that subtitle Resurrection, because when films have that subtitle, it doesn't really mean it's a good film. I'm talking to you. So I was really worried, but I do have to say that I had a blast with this film. This is like probably the funniest film in the franchise in a good way. I think the characters here, they are so good, especially Ripley. Like, she's such a badass. I love how unique her character is here, because obviously she's not actual Ripley. She's most like half robot, half human, mostly robot, alien, I don't even know, but she was really good on this. I love how, like, how badass she is, how strong, and also the rest of the crew, I think they were really good too. Also, I love the creatures. The creatures in this film, they looked terrifying. Like, that sound design was amazing for these creatures. I loved how much we learned from them. I loved the kills. I loved the chasings. I think the way the creatures were thinking for themselves and they were attacking the crew, that was really good. There is a lot of unique scenarios in this film. For example, when they're swimming, so the chasings are underwater, like the alien becomes mostly like a shark. That was really good. Also, there is one scene where they're like on the lift, but like there is water on the base and the alien is going through the stairs, and that was really good, because it make like that scene really got me on, like really got on my skin. And again, the social commentary on this film, because I think this movie manages to talk about how sometimes us as a society we let those with power control our minds and our bodies without our concerns. And that was really good how they did it in this film, because of what happens to Ripley. And also, I have to say, the makeup and the practical effects on everyone was incredible, and not just because of the blood and the gore, like the way everyone was looking. Like, this movie felt mostly like a summer film, because everyone is looking so sweaty, like the makeup was just beautiful, and also the sound design, the kills, the way the bones were cracking. Like this film, I think this film is the one that feels more as a proper like 90s slasher, 90s 2000s slasher, and I think that was amazing. This is one of the most rewatchable films in the franchise. I would say even the most rewatchable. Like I had a good time with this film. I did not feel the runtime. Like I could watch this film so often, and this might be an unpopular, but this film is so underrated. It works perfectly to close the first quadrilogy. Like the characterization of Ripley is incredible, and like it makes sense. This Ripley is the way that she is after 3 films, after 2 decades. Coming at number 4, that will be Aliens, the sequel. Like this film, I gave it 4 stars and a half. This is one of the greatest sequels to ever exist. Now, I'm obsessed with this film. I really loved it. I think the way it continues the storyline from the first film was amazing. I also think that Ripley, again, she's absolutely badass. She is the most humanistic character like that I've seen in a long time, and maybe has ever been written. I think out of the whole franchise, this is the best version of Ripley, because you can feel her pain, you can feel her loneliness. Like she's very humanistic, and I love when horror films give us those kind of characters, because we can feel identified with, we can root for them. So that was beautiful. I loved the fact that when she sees the little girl, she becomes like a mom, and that makes her even more human. Like, I don't know, I really love all of the aspects that related to Ripley in this film. Also, like the aliens, they're terrifying. I love the different use of location compared to the first film. I love the crew, I love how different they are. I love how every single one from them is like such a badass. I loved how, because the movie takes its time, because this movie is like 2 hours and 10 minutes, but I did not feel the runtime. You get to like fall in love with the characters, you get to root for them. So the moment they start getting like killed off, it's just amazing. And also, I do have to say, like the aliens, they are like the way they work and the way they developed, and also the robot in this film, he's really good, he's really charismatic. I do have to say, because obviously this is a 4 stars and a half film, like the main reason why I didn't give 5 stars to this is because there is a character, I think her name is called Vasquez, and I, like this whole time I thought she was a Latina character, like a Latina actress being in an aliens film. It's not just because her character is Latina. I was just happy to see a Latina woman being on an aliens film. But can you imagine that she's not a Latina person? She was like a white person, a white woman with a lot of makeup to look brown, and her accent was horrible. And she even had to have like contact lenses to have brown eyes. Her makeup, like that was just so racist. So that's the main reason why this movie is coming on the 4th place, and that's the main reason why this movie is not 5 stars. Coming at number 3, that will be the other prequel, Prometheus. Now this film is actually the first aliens film that I've watched, and I've seen this movie many times. I love this film. Again, this movie as Covenant, it works perfectly to talk about where does these creatures come from. I loved how this movie like manages to be its own, but also is related to this whole franchise. Like this movie was everything that I needed and more. The visuals, the kills, like the location, the landscape, the sound design, the storyline, the script. Like everything is beautiful about this film, and I think this film deserves better, because I don't really know why people are not really liking this film. Like as a prequel, it works perfectly. Like this is the kind of prequels that I like to see in franchises. Prequels that work at its own, and that they don't rely on fan service, and like movies that like are strong for such a strong franchise, if that makes sense. Like the storytelling, the visual storytelling was incredible. I also was terrifying, like because it makes you feel so claustrophobic. Like it makes you feel, what would you do in that actual situation? Again, this movie is 4 stars and a half for me, and the main reason why I didn't give this movie 5 stars is because there is a lot of romantic storyline, and that really takes me out of it, because like it just doesn't belong to. And I know these people are human and they deserve to have partners and all of that, but in the matter of the film, in this film, it was just annoying to see like a sex scene taking place in space, because that's not really needed. Like I'm here to see the space. I'm here to see these characters going through this situation. I want to learn more about them, especially because this is a prequel. So seeing a love storyline really took me out of it, but that's fine. Still, this movie is the 3rd one in my ranking. It's an amazing film. I think also the color palette was incredible. And it was also just terrifying. It worked as a poem. I feel like this movie is a poem because it was just like, look, you love aliens, this is a poem for you as a prequel. Now, coming in number 2, and after I say my number 2, you will know my number 1, but that's okay. But coming in number 2 will be actually the newest film, Alien Romulus. Now, I do have to say that this film was everything that I needed and more. Like, I'm obsessed with this film. This film was incredible and everything worked perfectly. The characters, the visuals, the camera work, the script, the storyline, the finale, the ending, the beginning, everything. Like, this movie, it was just a perfect combination of drama, horror, science fiction, action. Like, this movie like manages to have each subgenre at its own space. Like, I wish I could have done a review for this film individually, but that's okay, that's why we're here. I love all of the characters. I love that we're following different characters, but like we're following people in their 20s, middle 20s, instead of like people in their 40s. So that was really good because we have never seen like people that young being in this situation, and I think that was really good. I think the acting was incredible. Like, this actress, that she is something. Like, she's gonna become something. She's been in incredible films, and after this film I want to see her in so many horror because she was such a good lead. I love the characters, I love the practical effects, I love that most of the film is practical, especially with the creatures, with the xenoforms, with the kills, with the gore, with the blood. Like, this means something. Like, when films like this exist, it means that practical effects will always be above CGI or like computer-based effects, if that makes sense. Like, this movie was terrifying. Like, I don't want to talk so much about it because obviously this movie is brand new. But this movie worked so good with its location because we're in a different space, we're in a different planet. Again, I love when we are outside of the spaceship or when we are outside, outside of a planet. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm a science fiction space geek, but I just loved it. I also loved the use of location inside the spaceship, especially because there is one specific scene where like the main character, a main girl, she breaks gravity. Like, she press a button or something and gravity like it's happening, so everyone is floating, including the aliens. And when the aliens die, like, the acid is floating too. So that was like that, those kind of camera work, those kind of locations, those kind of ideas, it what makes you love this franchise, because each film in this franchise has something different to offer. I guess a few critiques that I could give to Alien Romulus, because I gave this film 4.5 stars, is obviously because this film is coming after 6 films, so it can struggle to be unique and original because obviously it's the 7th film in a franchise. But however, this film manages to be unique and original in many aspects, especially with the aliens, especially again with the use of location. Also, maybe another critique that I could give to this film is that the storyline overall, or like the way the movie is progressing, it felt more like as a video game storyline rather than a movie. Like, it felt like this was a live action of a video game called Alien Romulus. And I don't know if that was the intention, and even if it was, I was not the happiest with it because personally, and this might be unpopular, live action films based on video games are not my favorites, if that makes sense, because again, I'm not a gamer, so maybe that's why, but when it comes to storylines, I don't necessarily prefer if they are like video games, if that makes sense. That might be unpopular, but that's just on me. And obviously, it's not a secret, my number 1, my favorite film in the Aliens franchise, that will be the original, the mother Alien. And I mean, everything that has been said about this film is true, and obviously maybe this film is gonna be number 1 for everyone, but I just loved it. I think the movie to come out in the late 70s is just admirable, is a poetry, is perfection. I loved everything about this film. I love the use of location, how claustrophobic it feels. I love how charismatic all of the characters are. I love that they feel like a real family. I loved when everything starts to go chaos. I love the practical effects, the scenery, like the graphics, like the moment the alien comes out of the chest. That was like, because it's something that we have never seen before by the time this movie came out. Especially when I watched that movie for the first time, I was like, what the hell is going on here? So incredible. Like, I feel like this movie deserves to be in every art museum and be like, look, this is one of the greatest movies ever made. Because it truly is. I loved how much of a badass Ripley is. I loved how she cares about everyone. I loved, again, the rest of the characters, how they struggle. I loved how, like, we don't see the alien that much, but still we feel terrified about it. It was just perfect, and like, I don't have any critique to give to this film because it's a 5 stars film. It's the only 5 star in the franchise, so obviously I will not change anything about it. Again, I loved the social commentary about this. I just loved everything, and yeah, I might sound repetitive, but it is what it is. Like, the first Alien is my favorite Alien in the whole franchise. It's now one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But with this franchise, like, this franchise became one of my favorites. I could rewatch them non-stop. So that was it. That was my ranking of the Alien franchise. I'm sorry if this video sounded too repetitive or whatever, but it's a ranking from a franchise that I absolutely love. I would love to read your comments or your opinions about this franchise. I will leave some like screenshots that I taken over Instagram asking people how did they feel about it, their rankings and all of that. I hope that you have a nice end of the day, have a nice end of the week, enjoy Alien Romulus, rewatch this franchise with friends, by your own, with family, because it's really worth it. And overall, have a good day. We will talk soon. Bye bye.